Welcome to church, everybody. Happy Father's Day. We're going to sing a couple songs. If you're comfortable, why don't you stand up where you are? We'll worship together. Come on. Here we go. I close my eyes and colors fly. There's no hiding from your grace. I can't deny your heart from mine and its unrelenting chase. I was on the edge of deception, caught up in my own hesitation, until your love took over me. So I let go and I let love show me life like it's supposed to be. An oasis here awaits us, all the freedom I'll ever need. Now I'm alive, oh alive, when I let go, then I found out. Oh alive, when I let go, then I found life. The higher way is calling me to a life unlike before. The Father's heart is beckoning, and I can't resist no more. Lead me in the ways of devotion. I don't want to get caught in emotion. My heart is only for you, Lord. So I let go and I let love show me life like it's supposed to be. An oasis here awaits us, all the freedom I'll ever need. So I let go and I let love show me life like it's supposed to be. An oasis here awaits us, all the freedom I'll ever need. Now I'm alive, oh alive, oh alive. When I let go, then I found life. Oh alive, oh alive. When I let go, then I found life. When I let go, then I found life. So I let go and I let love show me life like it's supposed to be. An oasis here awaits us, all the freedom I'll ever need. So I let go and I let love show me life like it's supposed to be. An oasis here awaits us, all the freedom I'll ever need. Now I'm alive, oh alive, oh alive. When I let go, then I found life. Oh alive, oh alive. When I let go, then I found life. When I let go, then I found life.
A man's empty praise and treasures that fade are never enough. Then you came along and put me back together. Now every desire is now satisfied here in your love. Nothing is better than you. Oh, I'm not afraid to show you my weakness, my failures and flaws. Lord, you've seen them all, and you still call me friend. 'Cause the God of the mountain is the God of the valley. And there's not a place your mercy and grace won't find me again. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you. There's nothing. Nothing is better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you. There's nothing. Nothing is better than you. You turn mourning to dancing. You give beauty from ashes. You turn shame into glory. You're the only one who can. You turn bones into armies. You turn stones into armies. You turn seas into highways. You're the only one who can. You're the only one who can. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you. There's nothing. Nothing is better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you. There's nothing. Nothing is better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you. There's nothing. Nothing is better than you.
There's nothing better. Oh, nothing better. Yeah, God, there's nothing better than you. We are so thankful for your presence in our homes, in our cars, in our workplaces. God, you go with us everywhere. Thank you, Jesus. Come on, church, let's continue singing together. You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you. I worship. Come on, sing it again. You are here. You are here, worship you. I worship you. You are here, healing every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, turning lives around. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, mending every heart. I worship you. I worship you. Oh, 'cause you are the waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. 'Cause you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Oh, that is who you are. 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 Oh, it's who you are. It's who you are. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. 'Cause you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Come on, you are the waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Oh, that is who you are. 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 Oh, it's who you are. It's who you are. That is who you are. You never stop working. You never stop working. You've never stopped working. Never stop working. Never stop working. You've never stopped working. Oh, you are the miracle worker. Promise
Good morning, everyone, and happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. We're so glad that you're joining us today, and whether you're watching today live or whether you're actually watching later in the week, we're just so glad that you're part of.
Happy
So,
Father's Day. Yeah.
Happy Father's Day, yeah.
Lots of barbecues going on today, lots of
That's what you're hoping, aren't you?
bacon,
Yeah.
maple syrup, all that stuff.
Is that what it is?
I don't know.
Bacon, fishing, I don't know. You don't have to be a dad that likes bacon or fishing. That's fine. So I just, to start with, I would like to wish my sons, Joel and Josiah, happy Father's Day. My son-in-laws, John and Scott, and my brother-in-laws, Blair and Mark. My father-in-law, Alan, and my father, who passed away 10 years ago. So I sympathize and grieve with the rest of you who have lost your fathers as well. And it's my privilege to interview my husband, the father of our 4 children, grown children, and
Right.
12 grandchildren. So
Right,
you
yeah.
have some credibility.
So we've been married 40 years, and our kids were...
Are you checking with me if that number is accurate, or is
Well,
that?
I don't know. I usually you'd be checking with me, but just, so we had our 4 kids when we were in our early 20s. Yeah, 4 kids, and we were pastoring all that time.
I remember when when I delivered Josiah, I think the doctor was 28, and you were 28, I think, when we had our 4th child.
27.
27. Oh, well.
Yeah.
And so...
I had 4 children by the time I was 27.
Yeah, so we had 2 boys, 2 girls, and
Yeah.
since then, now,
Now they're all grown up and
married
kids
and have their own families,
Yeah, totally.
fathers, mothers,
Yeah.
and the work. So you have some credibility as both being a son first and
yeah,
foremost,
and then a father,
a
and
father, and now a papa.
grandfather. Yeah.
Yeah, so, there's a few things that I think, I don't know that for a father, like we often hear about mothers who have a lot of pain because they've never been able to conceive. Is that actually an issue well, not that fathers can conceive, but not being a father, is that,
Well,
did you dream about being a father as a little boy?
No, I don't think so. Actually, I don't really. It wasn't one of those things like, oh, I wonder how I'll be as a father. I actually was more thinking about, I wonder, when am I going to get married?
Yeah, that probably wasn't the father
Yeah,
thing.
I wasn't ever thinking about the father thing. So I don't know. I don't really know.
If that was a dream you had, or...
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was a dream for me to be a father. It wasn't anything that I thought about.
We so much hear today about this being a fatherless society. Obviously, everybody has a father, otherwise they wouldn't be there.
Right.
But we have grown up. There's a society that really has had a lot of absentee fathers.
Sure.
Through either relationship breakup or whatever.
Working away from home.
Yeah.
I mean, lots of dads working away from home for
we're
a
not,
period of time.
50 years ago when you might have had a very agricultural society.
Sure.
Or
More
people,
mobile.
we're way more mobile. People who work on the patch, that kind of things.
All those kinds of-
Do you have anything, like you've always, when our kids were growing up, you were home every day for lunch.
I was home for lunch. Yeah. Yeah. I honestly, I feel like it was pretty privileged with our kids especially when they're younger, being able to have as much time with them as I did. Because I think it's important to be able to spend as much time. So even if I often think about what would I have done if I worked away or if I'd have been away a lot. I think I would just be wanting to capitalize
on the time you're home.
On the time I'm home. I just want to be as present as possible, because I think even dads that are that are working so that they're home every night, it's still a challenge in today to be present.
There's so many things pulling on you.
Well, just simply, the cell phone and.
Well, you're on call all the time, or you're available all the time, right?
And a dad's influence in his children's life is important. And, it's different than a mom's, but it is really important.
I think even statistically, there's something about a girl's identity and her self-esteem. I'm not sure if it applies to boys, but it comes through her father, right? Even if it's...
I remember reading that when our daughters were still younger, and that sociological idea that a lot of a woman's self-esteem has come from her
sense
dad.
of security.
Yeah, and I remember being at that point in time more intentional than ever about making sure that I was a man in my daughter's life that was affirming her and doing everything I could. And I think when we talked about Mother's Day, you mentioned that I always call my granddaughters gorgeous or beautiful. And, and I do, I did that intentionally with my daughters at some point.
I think that article even said and I'm not talking about abusive fathers, but even bad fathers are better to be present in their children's lives than not to be, that it actually still contributed, because I think so often as a society we have an often emasculated men in a lot of ways and not given them an
Well,
opportunity.
look at a lot of the sitcoms and television
Yeah.
shows. The guys that
Strong
do
women
yeah.
and weak guys all the time.
I mean, that's been the case for a long time.
Yeah, and so then you find children who tend to be very, I don't think they would equate that they're disrespectful to their father or to masculine figures in their life, but they just, there's so many, I almost think there's more jokes around fathers than there is around mothers in a lot of ways.
Yeah, in some ways, yeah. And I mean, I think it's it's a challenge. Being a dad, you come home at night from work, and in a sense, what you need at that point in time is almost the exact opposite from what your kids need and your wife needs. Because you're home from work, you've been busy, you're exhausted, and whatever you're doing, whether you're working out of the country or out of the province or just down the street, or home office, working from home, and you come home and you're exhausted, you're spent because you put everything you did into that, and you come home and you get these kids that are just, they need something from you, or what, your wife just, can you just look after the kids? I've looked after them all day, and that's important, but it's just there's this clash that goes on for dad when he comes home. So you've got to be super intentional, I think, about making a transition in your head and making just shifting your thinking and saying, okay, now I'm home. Now that I'm home, I want to be, who do I want to be? I remember something that I had read, and when I was thinking about this interview today, I was thinking, what did I read as a, trying to be a better dad?
Yeah.
It was more stuff that I just picked up, but I remember, that when dad gets home, then he can be, like Superman. He can, he plays and all that kind of stuff. But that's not always the case. Sometimes coming home and being, heavy-handed, and I used to hear when I was a kid, wait till dad gets home. You probably heard that too. And
No, I think I got it both before Dad got home and when Dad got home. I don't think there was waiting involved.
Yeah.
But I do remember the stories that you had to wait till you got home.
But so, I think there's this balance because, you're, as a dad, you're coming home and you're really trying to establish kind of the boundaries or the parameters of your home, but you want to do that in a way that's still a little bit more lighthearted than you probably feel.
So do you ever feel like you don't have any me time?
Oh, yeah, of course.
You do? I think that's only just a female dilemma. Really?
No, well, I mean, I'm introverted, so yeah.
Yeah, so you're not actually even meaning the kids, you're meaning like the wife, the family, everybody.
Exactly,
you need
yeah. But I don't really remember, when our kids were young, I don't really remember feeling that way, because despite the fact that I hadn't planned, I hadn't thought about what I'd be like a father, I've always loved kids. And so having the kids and, now grandkids, I mean, I love it, right?
So can you think of one decision maybe that was one of the greatest decisions you made as a father, whether it was intentional or unintentional?
One of the biggest decisions I made, or greatest decisions I made as a father.
In the positive, on
In
the
the
positive
positive.
side of things.
I think for me, I feel like one of the most important decisions I made was to be affirming, especially to our daughters. I remember one point in time, I remember one of our girls coming out to me and saying, or, what it was just to me or whatever, coming and saying, I'm just so ugly, or, I don't like how I look, or all that kind of stuff. And I almost got angry with her. I said, don't ever say that. You're beautiful. You're gorgeous. And I feel like that was really important.
So did you see that modeled in your own father?
I don't think so. But then I'm not sure that I would have seen it because, that was for me. This has been directed towards my daughters. And,
but
I'm
you
the
have
only
two
son.
sisters.
Yeah, but I wouldn't have noticed.
Whatever he was saying to me, it didn't matter what he said to my
what
sisters.
he was saying to my sisters, I would have noticed, right? I'm just, yeah.
So you intentionalized that, though.
But I did because I think the thing is that we do have a society that has, in many ways, minimized the role of a dad. Like who needs a dad, who needs a man, who needs all that kind of stuff. And so I had to come to grips with the fact, and I had to realize that my role was important because nobody else was necessarily telling me that my role was important.
Right.
At least not outside of, church circles and things. So that my role was important, that I actually had something really important and unique to contribute to these children. And so making that decision to step up to that role and say, okay, I have something very unique to contribute and very, very important in the sense that if I don't do it, it's not going to happen.
It's
So
going
it's
to
going to leave a lack.
They're going to have a deficit if you
Yeah,
don't.
it's going to leave a lack.
Yeah.
And so I think that was
So what do you
another
think? What do you
conscious
think the boys needed if the girls, you felt that was something that you needed to intentionalize and contribute into their lives? What about boys? What do you think that they need that is unique for a little boy?
That's, it's a really good question, because I think I probably would have answered that better when our kids were little. But now it's almost like I feel like I don't even know. Only because now I'm filtering it back through the sense of what I didn't do right. The sense of not providing, a good enough example of manhood or a good enough example.
Did you teach them how to be men?
Yeah, and just that feeling. So I guess, I know I would have done some things that would have been important, but it's like at this point in life, it's being filtered back through this sense of maybe I didn't do a good enough job.
I remember a couple of years ago, we went down to a conference in Seattle, and one of the things, I recall, because I didn't necessarily see this modeled because I grew up with just one sister in the home, and so there wasn't any boys in the home, but you used to always make the kids wait until I walked through a door first, because I think you said you guys would get in trouble if you didn't let your mom walk in first. And I remember being on the elevator with granddaughters and grandson, and you trying to get the grandson to wait until the girls got off, and he had like this major meltdown, like, why don't they get to, and just, something small. It's not.
I was brought up in an era of, at least in our home, that there was some, male response, chivalry, I guess is the best way to describe it. So open the doors and. And another thing I always, Dad would have taught me to, going down the stairs, I walk in front of you.
In case I fall, right?
In case you fall, that you don't just fall down the stairs, that I'm there to catch you. Just little things like that. And they were, I think some of my sons got that anyway.
Some maybe
because they saw me
didn't.
do it.
Yeah.
So I think there's some of that. The thing is, your kids are always watching you.
Well, or they don't know the why of why.
Yeah.
Like, why do you walk in front of mom down the stairs
Right.
when you don't let her? She has to go in the house first in case there's a robber there to protect her.
Yeah. all those kinds of things. But yeah, you're right. And so, again, for me, I think looking at it from here, now I'm actually looking at my fathering and my parenting through the eyes of my kids.
Grown
when we have
adult kids.
conversations and they say, well, I like that you did this, or, I wish you had done that, or you didn't do that, or all those kinds of things, which, parenting is, you're not perfect. But accepting that sometimes is probably harder as I get older than it was when I was younger.
So do you feel like you have a lot of regrets?
I don't know that I have a lot of regrets. I think it's more that I feel like I'm second guessing more, but I shouldn't be, because
it's not like you can do anything about those things,
I can't do
right?
anything about it, and it's not even that. It's we have 4 great kids. They're awesome, and they love God. They are, they're what I would hope for. And even now, I feel like in many ways, I feel like they're my friends.
Right.
Which is a huge.
They still want to be with us.
Still want to hang out with us
and spend time with us.
Spend time with me, and and that's. I think for me that would be, if I at the time had said I have this goal, my goal would be I would love to, as I prepared my kids to leave, that they would still want to be with me,
Right.
but then it would be their choice, not their obligation. So I think that's an important thing.
I know that I've heard Chris Hodges, I think he wrote an article or did a podcast on what every father wishes his son knew. Can
Right.
you think of something that you would contribute to that?
Everything that I wish. This is the things that I wish. Not that I have a do-over, but looking back, saying, okay, if I was in that role raising kids again, this is what I would want. I would want to make sure that my sons, my daughters, unequivocally always knew that it didn't matter what they did, that I loved them. Because as a father,
Whether they do right or wrong.
yeah,
right?
because you end up being a disciplinarian, and I was probably a more strict disciplinarian when I was younger than I am now, right? Because you mellow as you age.
How are you going to discipline them now?
Yeah, but I mean, you mellow, but you do,
Yeah.
you mellow. You know, that's
Yeah.
why the oldest child tends to get a little bit more harsher discipline than the youngest child,
Yeah.
because you mellow. I think you just get tired of disciplining, but I would really, more than anything else, I would want to make sure that whatever I did was through that thing, that they knew that I loved them, no matter how they, whether they were right or wrong. I wanted to be the person, I always wanted to be the dad that if my daughter called me or my son called me and said,
Smash up
"Hey,
the
Dad,
car."
I smashed up the car," my first question is, "Are you okay?" I wanted to be that. I didn't want to be the person
Can the
that
car
said, "Is
still
the car
drive?"
okay? Can you drive?"
Yeah. Yeah.
But because that, to me, that was important. So,
And you got
with
to exercise that a few
I
times, didn't
did.
you? Maybe even with
Hopefully
each
I-
of them.
I don't know, maybe, yeah. But hopefully I gave that right response. But
Do you think there's something different that you'd want your sons to know than your daughters?
yeah, oh, sure. I mean, I
Because you have to
can't-
prepare them to be husbands and fathers, right?
And,
Which is
and
different.
I don't think I thought as much about preparing my sons to be fathers as I did preparing them to be adults.
How about men?
Well, yeah, and I don't know that I thought really in those terms. Which looking back, I wish I had thought that way of preparing them to be men, because then would be maybe some different things I would have wanted to teach them. As opposed to, just, hey, I've done a good job, I got you to adulthood, now you're gone.
You can make your own.
You
you've
can
got
make your own
income,
decisions now, because it certainly isn't that way. I mean, the decisions they make now, I still feel.
So how do you feel when your grown children come to you for advice or counsel?
I feel really honored. I do. Whenever I hear that word, "Hey, Dad, what do you think about this?" Or "I don't know." That's because in reality, for me as a father of adult children, I feel like that primarily is my role in their life now. I'm not there to discipline or guide. I'm actually there to give wisdom if I can, when it's asked
Advise.
for. When it's asked for, right? It's hard sometimes not to want to give advice other times too.
And if they seem to have made a big decision and not said anything to you, do you feel hurt?
I probably do, but only momentarily, because I realize that it's entirely up to them.
Yeah. It's not even the advice
Yeah,
in its entirety. It's just like, oh, I wish you told me that.
I think the thing that's harder on a personal level to wrestle with is when I feel like they've gotten smarter than I am in areas. And that's like, oh, they know more about that than I do, because I'm used to being the one that knows, right? So, but that's part of life. That's how it should be, right?
Yeah.
Should be. I often think about what John the Baptist said about Jesus. He said, "He must increase and I must decrease." And actually, I think that's what a father's role is with his children and his sons specifically, is I need to decrease and they need to increase, and I need to be okay with that.
But as a man, doesn't that feel like you're losing ability or you're not as valuable as
Well,
you?
yeah, you feel diminished, and you start
Especially
to
when it's a
feel,
goal that you're trying
yeah, and
to...
you start to feel redundant. I think that's it. And I found in my personal journey on this, the hardest shift being the shift from being the father to now I'm the father of adult children, and the role is completely different. And I found that really the hardest, because it's trying to find that identity and the reason I exist and why am I here. I can't do this for you. I can't, you don't ask me about these things. So why am I here?
So you're also a son and you have a father who's
Yep.
still living.
Yeah.
So how do you bring validation to your own father?
I don't think I've done that very well. I just don't feel like I've done that very well. Because, for us, we've been so involved with church and we've lived away from our parents. And so I feel like we haven't seen them enough. And honestly, I'm not really a big phone call kind of person. I don't spend a lot of time on the phone. So I don't talk to my dad a lot on the phone. I mean, I love him. Actually, every time I talk to him, I love him. In fact, I appreciate him more now than ever because I keep looking at him. I don't think he realizes, because I don't really tell him, but I don't think he realizes how much effect he has on me now because of just watching his example.
As he fathered you as an adult.
Well, all the way through. I mean, I look at, sometimes I feel like it's this curse. I look at all different sides of things. So when my sons act in a particular way that bothers me, I always try to remember how I acted at that age and discover it's usually the same. And then I try to put myself back into my dad's shoes and go, okay, how did my dad respond to that? And then I try to act that way. Because I really think I think I have a great dad, and I have no complaints about my dad. So I think as I can see his example and looking at it, I feel like it's worth emulating.
But what would you say to people who have aging parents, aging fathers? How can they continue to bring value to their?
I think you gotta let your parents know that you love them. That's important. But I think an example for me with my dad, so before all these latest restrictions of traveling around the province, I was down visiting with my dad. And you see, here's the thing we forget about our parents. Our parents actually develop, when my kids left home, I was in my early 30s. I've now developed an additional 20-some odd years since my kids left home, so I'm a different person than they remember. I have different skills, I have different abilities, and so
interests.
Yeah, and so my dad developed all these different skills and stuff after I left home. He computer technician,
right,
a lot of electrical stuff, and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. And so in my mind, my dad's still frozen at when I was a kid growing home, like in terms of his abilities.
Right.
But he's developed all this other stuff, and one thing he's just really good. He's good with electrical, and he helped us one time do some renovations in our house, and I, he'd say, well, this is the way I do that, and I went, of course you know how to do that. And so when I was down this last time, I'd said, hey, I don't know how to wire this particular kind of plug in, the three-way plug, and I always get mixed up, and so he found me a diagram and, showed me all, and then he sent me some stuff, and, this is how you do it. But he said to me, and this is what just helped me a lot, he said, that's what I'm here for. That's what I'm here for. He's a resource, an important resource. And so, if I could be that for my kids, I think that would be really important. So.
Yeah, so I think sometimes watching adult children, they're afraid that if they utilize the resources of their parents, that affects their ability to individuate or be, grown-ups, so to speak. I noticed that in girls, especially when they leave home, especially when they get married and something needs to be fixed, and the first person they want to call is their fathers, not their husbands, that becomes a bit of a challenge, right? For one thing, the Word of God doesn't say that girls have to leave their fathers and mothers, and so that doesn't really.
I think it's a loophole. You're looking for a loophole.
Well, whatever. I think you told me about it. I think I got it from you. I don't think I created.
If I remember right, I think I have had a conversation with each of my son-in-laws, and basically said, told them, look, at my tendency will be to be over-involved, and because these are my girls, right? And so my tendency will be to want to fix things for them and, do that. And I want right off the bat to give you permission to tell me to butt out, because I'm not, and I mean, I've had that at least, I know I have it with one of them. I think I have it both, but just saying,
He told you to butt out. Is that why you remember that one?
No, but I just say, hey, I want to be a help. I don't want to be a thing that divides, because I do see parents, in-laws that divide their kids because they take one side or the other, and I mean, hey, if it came right down to it, which side would I take? Would I take my son-in-law's side or my daughter's side? I mean, my tendency would be to take my daughter's side. So I have to be pretty careful that I don't take his place.
Alienate
Well,
him
he's
either, right?
he's the father of their children, so I'm not disciplining their children. He's her husband, and I don't want to step into that role. I'm very careful I don't. But I also realize that I have blind spots, so I may not even notice when I'm doing it, but he will. And the last thing I want is to be somebody that he resents, so I give him permission to tell me.
Now, you're available to help, right?
Oh, yeah, of course.
But I think I hear you say, I try to wait till he asks rather than the girls,
I
right?
do. As much as I can, I try to wait till he asks.
We're not
And-
talking about they're out of gas and we're leaving them stranded somewhere. We're
No,
talking
no,
about
and you know what? I think, I mean, I've had son-in-laws now for quite a few years.
16
and-
years, but
Yeah, and I
John
think
was around
generally,
for
yeah,
a while,
I mean,
20 probably.
they'll call and say, hey, how do you do this, or what do you think of this? And I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's, it feel valued.
I think, growing up with just one sister in my home, I think it was a valuable thing to my father to have a son-in-law, because he never had a son that he was able to raise. So I think those things are significant. So a grandfather, whole different kind of role.
Yeah, it's a fun role.
Is it?
Yeah, I'd always said I'm never going to be that kind of grandfather, that spoils the grandkids and all that kind of stuff. But I am, and I love it. Yeah, I am. I love it. They can. My job. I think my job is different. My job is not to parent them, although it's a grandparent. My job is not to parent them. I'm not guiding them. I'm not directing them. I'm not doing that. I am leaving them with the impression that Papa. Papa will do it. Papa will be there. Papa loves me. It doesn't matter what happens. Papa loves me, and it's always, I go to Papa. There's always a spot in his lap. There's always a place. I can help him. I mean.
Even if you have to fill the holes after.
Even if
they've
I have to
already-
fill the holes after, it's not as efficient having grandsons or granddaughters help you with stuff, but it's so much more fun and rewarding. It just
So
shifted.
when you look and you see sons, daughters, granddaughters, grandsons, what do you feel as a man leaving a legacy? Like, you're not like, it's not the end, you're not at the edge of the cliff, but do you feel a sense of legacy or what that would look like, what you'd be remembered for?
Yeah, I have to. I actually have to always guard myself on that one, because I tend to be in the moment thinking, okay, how are they going to remember me? How are they going to remember me? And I feel like that's a trap, because if I keep thinking about how are they going to remember me, then I'm not going to enjoy the moment. So the last little while, I really worked a lot harder on just being in that moment and just laughing and enjoying and not thinking about what it's going to look like to them or how they're going to remember me 10 years. Because they're going to remember me how they remember me. But I'm going to just enjoy that. And, if they want to wrestle or they want to play street hockey or they want me to,
I think he wanted to
practice
whistle,
Spanish,
and
or
you
they
thought he
wanna-
wanted to
or
whistle,
they want-
but it wasn't whistling. He wanted to wrestle. He
Yeah,
just
or they
couldn't
want
say
to go
the
camping
R.
or whatever it is. I want to be. I want to be saying yes as much as I can.
Fixing bikes and
Yeah, I just want to say yes. And I sometimes I think like our kids and sons and daughter-in-laws and son-in-laws and daughters, that they're putting off learning some skills because I'm around to do it, so they don't have to, Papa will fix the bike. Just wait till Papa comes, he'll fix the bike. And I'm okay with that. I'm good with that. I like it.
I noticed that the grandchildren save up their mending for grandma to
Yeah.
do. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure like one of my daughter-in-laws has like a way better sewing machine than me. But
Probably.
the thing is, they got so many other things to do. I can certainly
They
do that. Why
And,
I
yeah,
don't need,
If we can do some of that stuff and let them just, have a little less stress in their life and,
yeah,
and a little less.
simple stuff.
Yeah, so they can enjoy their kids. We made a decision. I feel like, I think we made it together, but I think it's a role as a fathers. We made a decision that we weren't going to build on our house. We wanted to make memories with our kids. And so we designed our life around memories and being able to do trips together and things like that.
Holidays.
Holidays together. And I really look
Vacations.
back on those as being super valuable to me, because those are the times when I could be 100% present with the kids,
Yeah.
taught them how to ride bike.
Yeah, that's true. We would do those
Those
skills
kinds of
sort of
things,
things.
skills, that happened when we're away on vacations and holidays. And so I think those holidays are important. Because we're pastors, we didn't get weekends. So,
Right.
when we had a week holidays,
There
it
was not 2 days in a
weekend.
row ever.
No, so that was a different thing. But that being present and being able to have the time to teach them. So I kind of feel lucky now because I feel like I've been able to teach a few of my grandkids how to ride bike too. Not that their parents couldn't, but they let me, and
Yeah.
the fact that they let me actually was cool.
What do you remember about your grandfather? You had 2.
I did. I had 2 grandfathers. I was 12 when my dad's dad passed away, and I don't remember a lot about him. He was 82 when he passed away. But my mom's dad was younger, and I remember when they retired, they lived closer to us, and I always felt like I had a special relationship with my grandparents, and I was on my first airplane trip with my grandpa. When I was 9, he took me with him on a trip on a train to Saskatchewan, and he wanted to take fishing, and there's just lots of really good memories that I
So do you
have.
think the other grandkids didn't have a special relationship?
My story, so I don't know what theirs is,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was a special time, special relationship. Yeah.
So, final thoughts on being a father, being some people are not, they've ended up being step-parents.
Right. Sure.
So, I know that isn't necessarily the role you've had, but you've had a lot of opportunity to see and be involved in some of those relationships that have had some breakdown. Any counsel that you could, wisdom you could impart?
I think people who take on the challenge of being adopted parents or step parents, that's a tough job. I've watched over the years, and there's a lot of challenges you don't expect. But I think some of the basic principles still remain the same. If you're that father figure in someone's life, speak life into the kids.
Yes.
Speak life into especially the young girls. Speak life into them. Tell them they're beautiful. Tell them they're gorgeous. Because our world around us is just destroying kids'
Don't you think
self-esteem and
as
shaming.
a substitute parent, as a step parent, though, that could be misconstrued as inappropriate?
Well, yeah. It would depend on the age, right? And relationship. I think it depends on that. I don't just tell any girl that she's beautiful. Like I don't do, like my granddaughters is one thing, but I don't necessarily tell somebody else's granddaughters. I might like a nephew's daughter.
Or if they're 2 or 3, is it the
Yeah,
same
exactly,
thing?
right.
Yeah.
Obviously caution. But I think speaking life is really a big deal. Because there's going to be a lot of frustrations as an adoptive parent or a step parent, father. And so speaking life, and I think just being present, again, is that for a short period of time, I don't think it was, I don't remember how long we kept doing it, but I had dates with my kids, and they got to pick it. And I have some really incredibly fond memories of those moments.
I noticed that our sons, I think, do that
They
now.
do that too. I see them doing it too. And I don't think I followed through with it that long. There was all sorts of projects that we were going to do that I didn't follow through on, and that may be there. But I think when you show
We still
up
have
and
a
you keep
half-finished
trying,
treehouse that
yeah,
might make
half-finished
it to
treehouse.
one of the
And,
younger grandchildren.
I got parts for a go-kart that never got anywhere, and stuff like that. But speaking life and just being present.
What would you say to somebody who is either estranged from their children or from their father?
Yeah, I really don't know what to say. And I'm not trying to cop out. I just there was a little portion of time when one of our kids I thought we would be estranged from. We didn't, and I flew to see him because I wasn't going to let that happen. And there's been actually, now when I think about it, there was a couple times when I felt like there was the risk that I could lose my kids in that sense. And I just decided that I wasn't leaving it up to them, and it wasn't an option. Basically, in my head, I guess I went, this isn't an option. You don't have the option of not being my child. And I will be your father, and I'll keep fighting for that and keep pushing on that. I don't know if I did it well or not, but definitely that was there. Being estranged from my father, I can't imagine what that would be like. I think that's a huge loss, and I guess my counsel would be just to do what you can. But also recognize that if your father is unwilling or unable to be in your life, you still need that person who fills that role.
So you find
allow some older men with experience to be in your life, especially as a father. I was fortunate; I had some older men in my life.
you had uncles and
Yeah, I had uncles, I had my dad, but there were other guys in the church that I would see. I remember Mr. Breck in Revelstoke. And it's not like you.
first person you went and showed your Mercedes to.
I did, and because I knew he would appreciate it. But there are, when you look into the New Testament, older men are there to be elder brothers and wise, and so I think it's good to, especially if you're estranged from your father, especially you still need that. Otherwise, you're just trying to figure it out yourself.
And we don't have to.
We don't have to do it alone.
So much harder. I mean,
Yes.
there's a scripture in 1 Corinthians 4:15 that says, you have many teachers, mentors, counsel, but few fathers, right?
Yeah, few fathers.
A father is, it is a precious thing to have. And I think too often we have, even as you alluded to at the beginning, that sometimes I think the world has said we don't need to have dads, we only, that they don't really need to play a role. But there is something that only a father can give you, whether you're male or female or whatever role you have, that nobody else can give. And that's not just life, but it is a sense of stability and security. And oftentimes, maybe they're imperfect, but
We're all imperfect,
yeah.
I think just, as we were kind of getting ready, I knew this Father's Day interview was coming, and felt really, it's funny, I don't feel really inadequate a lot of times when I'm speaking on, but when I start talking about fatherhood, I feel really inadequate. But I think the big thing, and I would hope today that every father watching, that you would get this, is that you would feel like I feel. I am so honored that God entrusted me with children. I'm just honored, even though I maybe didn't do it all right. I'm honored. I'm honored that my sons and my daughters entrust me with their kids. It's just I think being, just feeling this sense of, it's an honor. It's an honor, an unexpected honor, and I think that's a big thing.
So would you mind praying for the fathers?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's just pray for the guys, fathers and grandfathers and one-day fathers.
Yes.
God, I just thank you, Lord, for the gift of being a father. And in your wisdom, you chose the metaphor of a father to show us your relationship with mankind and how a father would love and be encouraging and, yes, provide some clear guidance for life and some clear boundaries that we learn to operate within, but yet overwhelming, loving, and willing to give those things that are most precious to your children. And so, Father, today, as I just pray for every father watching, every grandfather, every son,
Yes.
Lord, that we would today just hold precious this gift of fatherhood. And God, I just pray for wisdom. And Lord, I pray, God, even more than that. God, I just pray that you would, God, you would just give men a little sense of letting themselves off the hook. We're not going to be perfect. God, you're going to do something great within us. But God, I just pray that Father, there would just be a real release in their life, that they would enjoy what you've given them. In Jesus' name.
Yes.
Amen.
Yes.
Amen. Hey, we got, I guess we have some announcements, eh?
Yes.
So this is our last kind of studio series for the summer.
Might even be our last sort of studio series.
Well, who knows? Yeah, who knows?
or
But
whatever that's going to look like. Huh?
so for the next,
8 weeks.
well, all summer,
10
we've
weeks.
got voices and
And
stories. So
stories.
voices and stories. So we're hearing from people in the church, devotional, a testimony, story. So they're going to be short services, a little shorter than normal, but a little shorter services. And they'll be out on Sundays and Wednesdays.
I think they're called microservices.
Yeah, smaller services. And so they'll be available right through till the long weekend in September. So we'd love to have you joining in on that, because you're going to hear the stories and hear about all the people in our church from all different areas of the region that we're part of. So that's kind of exciting. And then of course, now that some of the restrictions have lifted and they're beginning coming off fairly quickly, it feels like right now. So we're gathering again.
And next weekend, we're going to start with barbecues, right?
Yeah, we're starting. So throughout the
27?
summer, every second week, we're having a gathering. We're get together at a barbecue, get together at the beach, get together wherever people want to get together. So all across our region.
So how do we find out where these people are gathering?
Well, we're still going to be. We're working on some of those details still right now. But hopefully, it starts next week, so you'll know. So watch our Instagram feed, watch our YouTube feed, look for a phone call, for a website, for an email, text, something like that. But we just really want to gather.
Yeah,
we just miss being together. And
rediscover each other, right?
Yeah, and even how it's like, when you haven't seen somebody for a long time and you get to service, and then you feel like you can't get to them because there's so many other people who want to see them. So we're getting together in a little bit smaller groups.
So that we can
actually get some time to connect again and be able to see each other.
Yeah, that'll be great.
And that'll be really good. Now we're going to do some bigger stuff in the summer. So we've got some fun stuff planned. I think it's July 17th. We're going to do a
wine tour.
C3 wine tour. So across our region, it'll be down in the Okanagan. You'll be able to sign up and come down. We'll be able to hang out and enjoy some of the beautiful blessings of God.
And then I think in August we have a golf tournament, right?
And in August, there's going to be a golf tournament for the whole region. So I think it's going to be fun. We're hoping it's not going to be too serious, because I haven't golfed in about 16 years. So
we have to have some goofy prizes or something. Huh?
Yeah, I don't know about goofy prizes, but we'll have fun. And then we're really looking forward to. We're going to have a big worship celebration. Because more than anything, we've missed celebrating. So that'll be in August.
Being able to gather together, sing.
And prayer and worship. So we're going to be doing that. And also we've got at least a couple times, I think, during the summer for kids. Special,
we're putting together some neighborhood VBS packages that they can do their, that anybody who wants to kind of have a little neighborhood play date gathering with.
Or you can just grab a few people couples from the church, or a few families from the church. And, hey, let's get our kids together, and we're just gonna, here's the hoppy, here's that.
And we're gonna provide you with some resources that you can access and do it however big, small, however you want to do.
The other thing I think just to remember about the barbecues, like starting next week, is that if you're hosting one, and we're encouraging everyone to host something, grab some people together. But if you need stuff, like we've got this list together, and we've got some supplies.
Who has
barbecues and grills and
whatever else we need, huh?
Well, we got hoppies, right? So
yes,
we got a bunch of hoppies and whatever you need.
We've got some lawn games. We've got
lawn
stuff
games.
Like
so just resourcing. We just want to resource people. So this summer we want to gather, and we want to, as a church, we're going to do everything we can to resource individuals so that we can get together and gather.
I can hardly wait to see each of you, to just be able to connect and have a conversation one-on-one and face-to-face. And thank you so much for just being part of these services that we've had, and for looking forward to the summer that we can hang out and be together. Don't forget your dads today. Celebrate them. Reach out to the men around you that maybe don't have their family near, and just bless and honor the men in your life, in your world.
Happy Father's Day, Dad.
Happy birthday. It's probably somebody's birthday.
Happy Father's Day, Dad.
Yeah. I don't know whose, but it's Eli's tomorrow. But
Eli's tomorrow.
Okay. Bless you. Have a great Father's Day.
See you soon.